Hello and welcome to the Frightfully Decent programme. And today we have a lineup of extraordinary poets and music for you, with myself, Charlie Davis, Rob Grant, Bernadette Kremin, Rod Cunningham and Louise Halvordsson from Sweden, with music from Sarah Harris and Ben Nelson. And now for some old favourites on the progressive scene, the Incredible Groovy Brothers with Raspberry Jam. Well, there you have it, the Incredible Groovy Brothers, who comprised of me and Ben Nelson, having a bit of a jam there. Ben's a curious fellow who, by his own account, sold his soul to a friend of his for £40, and when he wanted it back, his friend wouldn't sell, so presumably he's still got it. And now for some poetry. This is by myself, with accompanying music from Sarah Harris on the violin. It's called The Husk of the Thinker of Things.
The old man was not known at the table, other than as an old man. He was the husk of the thinker of things. There are no more triumphs, no achievements, no conquests or victories. The old man drank a thin port wine. He read in papers of a world he did not care for he was the husk of the thinker of things. The girls who he once loved had lost their bloom. They became creaking things, wrapped in shawls and cardigans. Under his iron bed were bright shiny books of exposed and naked women. They mocked the old ardour of his blood, and he thought aloud, I am the husk of the thinker of things. The restaurants he knew all those years before, when he was a gourmet and a bon vivant, had no pleasures now. It was all now dried bread and fish, for he was the husk of the thinker of things. The old man shuffled on, back to a small flat sticky with tar, hunched there with a cigarette, no longer fearful of future things, of being a drooling cabbage evermore, for he was the husk of the thinker of things.
Now there's a bit of a tragic story to that poem. Sarah and I recorded it with a fellow called Joe Jensen, who was another neighbour of mine and Rob's at the time, and lived 2 stories below me. He recorded this towards the end of 2014. Unfortunately, at the very end of that year, he took his own life, so he's no longer with us. So this is a bit of a memorial to him. And on that rather sad note, here's some music with a distinctive Andean flavour. It's called Capelmo, and here to tell us a little bit about it is our old friend Carlos Diaz, who's in the studio today.
Buenos dias, compadres. It's a piece from 2011, and it's played on the chirango. Colleen, she's my lady, she buy me a chirango for Christmas, or was it my birthday? I'm not sure.
No, I believe the chirango is from South America.
Si, is a Peruvian instrument is made traditionally from the armadillo.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Capalmo. Here's Rob Grant's poem, Bitter Judgment, with musical accompaniment by Sarah Harris playing Sarabandi de Vassy.
The women judged him like some cavity that split beneath their molars' spilling nerves. They'd never heard their husbands speak such words or spied a hero's life turned travesty. Orpheus was blasphemy to beauty. He'd every opportunity to earn their hand, their sex, as every hand was spurned and sank their wettest thoughts to gravity. He always moans about his bloody life. Excuses. Does he think he's been to hell? I'll show him hell, projected in my knife. Conspiracies in anger coined their spell. The jealous women lured him to the tide and hacked his idle body where it fell. The ocean sucked its prize. Between the waves the women knelt like stone, the waters lapping sex to bitter cold.
A few years ago, I edited an anthology of poetry called New Moon Rising for a poetry group named Poets Cornered, under the Serenadium imprint, which is probably still available in a few antiquarian bookshops, and the library. We managed to sell a few copies to them back in the days when libraries had proper funding. Sarah was a member of that group, as were Bernadette Kremin and Louise Halvorsen, who both featured in the book. Sarah is a classically trained violinist, whose mother was Sir Winston Churchill's private secretary back in the 50s when he was Prime Minister for the second term. Rob is that rarest of contemporary poets, a classicist, and a very good one at that. Unfortunately, I didn't know him back in the old Poets Cornered days, or he would definitely have featured in the book. Rob and I have shared airtime on a few occasions of late, as has Rod Cunningham, who you'll definitely hear of a little bit later. And now for another poem, and this one's by Bernadette Kremin, who's a renowned poet and a personal favourite of mine and a very good friend, who has a number of books out to her name, and this one is called Scribbling in the Margins.
Lying in bed, I listened to the door click at your heel. the 11 steps it takes to the elevator, and then that pause as you walk across the car park. Next, your ignition kicks in and takes you scurrying back to another bed where someone else is waiting. I stretch my leg into the wet patch you left and re-invite the women who have wound around you, the ones who live in Sage Placedids, Sloane Square, Hampstead Heath, who have perfect manicures and always seem to wear autumnal silk. The ones whose confused perfume you bring back in your hair for me to play with, and that one whose name you pretend to forget when a pillow talk falls off the curb. Today is Monday, so you'll be back at 10. I'll waste the morning finding things to avoid, and in the afternoon I'll hide behind a mud moss face pack, bite my nails, shave your territory, choose moody music to moan round the room like a porcelain whore, and dress Mandy the mannequin in your favourite bra, the one you wasted your dole on that abandoned afternoon in Camden. And just before the door clicks and you find me left where I was left, I light 2 slim damson candles to whisper a rumour around the room.
There is no government, just well-dressed liars, spin doctor speech writers. They don't even write their own lies. They don't even write their own lies. There is no law, just overpaid talkers. Biased judge with a grudge. Do the crimes, beat the time. How good is your lawyer? Tell me how good is your lawyer? Good jargon, please bargain. Reduce a sentence or grant a pardon. Or go to jail and be raped by an inmate or a warden. An inmate or a warden. There is no police, just uniformed criminals. You gotta be a crook to catch a crook. Too much television subliminals. Too much television subliminals. Angry young men armed with clubs and pistols, taking out their childhood on suspicious individuals. Suspicious individuals. There is no religion, just organized hate. People separate in the name of faith and fate. War in the name of God, in the name of church and state. Sex with children in the name of God. Or is God rape? Is God rape? Disease in the name of God. Death in the name of God. In the name of God, every abuse. The use of God as an excuse. God as an excuse. In the chaos of this insanity, in the madness of this reality, there's only one truth left. We already live in anarchy. We already live in anarchy. We already live in anarchy. Anarchy, 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 anarchy. We already live in anarchy. We all live in anarchy. We all live in anarchy. We all live in anarchy. Live in anarchy. We all live in anarchy.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Rod Cunningham and Anarchy. I don't think that needs any explanation from me, only in that it's an apt summation of our times. Rod has lived in England and America and tells it how he sees it. A loud, bare-knuckled fist of a poem. And here's a poem from Louise Halverston. Louise is a successful poet and novelist with works published in Swedish and English. And here she is with The Soft Revolution.
The soft revolution of boys. A soft revolution begins with a no. No, 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 this is not okay. A soft revolution begins with a pointed finger, a big fat fuck you pinned to the sky. My revolution was a soft cry inside my pussy. Welcome at your own risk. But first, you need a driving license, a proof that you can treat me with RESPECT, respect. A proof that you know what the stop sign means, or when the road is clear and you can let go of the brake. A soft revolution begins with boys who don't treat people like toys. You can say, not my son, not my dad, not my friends, but most rapists have friends and partners. It's not my job to wear a long skirt, drink nothing but water and always take a taxi home. It's a man's job to RESPECT me and my body parts. My body is a no-go zone for anyone who isn't invited. The soft revolution begins when boys tell other boys that toys are toys and people are people, that toys are toys and people are people and people are people and toys are toys. The soft revolution begins when boys tell other boys that toys are toys and people are people.
The Cafe of Tea Biscuit Dreams.
She was in the cafe of Tea Biscuit Dreams. He said, "I love the small birds in the pools of your eyes." A wife signed an old magic number no one remembers now. A waiter asked for an order. They ate a dish condemned in Belgium and thought uncouth in Tel Aviv. A couple in the corner are shadows. They have sipped their tea for 100 years. They barely notice the new motor cars. They are so in love, they do not know it yet. Evening. Holding you for the last time, as the sun charts our mellow evening, over the mountains, and turning the sea to gold. Your heart beats, like a frightened sparrow. My heart aches as well. And as the evening dims, I kiss you for the very last time, and watch you take the stony path that leads down to the village of boys and men. How brief your bud-like pain, flighty girl whose breasts are not yet full. Love for you is but a game, teasing the hearts and loins of those destined by the gods for the lonely life of longing. And as I see your shadow swallowed by the creeping cool of night, I think of the tide of years and of the sweet pain of live girls like you. One day she too will know, when her bloom has faded, how the calloused young toss their fancies away like largesse and dainties, and disregard the aching heart they leave. Perhaps then she will remember the woman in the house above the village who loved her so, though she did not notice.
Hello again. The rather beautiful violin piece following the soft revolution is called She Begs She More, an Irish melody from the early 18th century by Thurlow Carolyn, who's regarded as Ireland's national composer, and played there by Sarah Harris. This was followed by a two-poem musical set by me and Ben Nelson. The Cafe of Tea Biscuit Dreams, an Evening, written and read by me, with an inspired improvisational accompaniment from Ben. So that's nearly all our performers, but despair not, because there's still a little bit more to come. I've had the pleasure of performing with each of them on various occasions, including at the World Poetry event in Gothenburg with Louise. That wasn't quite as grand as it sounds, but jolly good fun all the same. I'd been fortunate enough to have been involved in an exhibition featuring my paintings in Berlin back in October 2015, and I just travelled up through Denmark by train, and when I got to Sweden, Louise and I made a little film on the subject. And here's Bernadette Kremin reading Jilted Bouquets.
This town is a featureless portrait of souls welded to bus stops, waiting for later. Stapled to aggressive denim and ribbon-thin lycra, killing time. Killing time under the seamless smoke ring that squirms from the pit chimney, wild and thick as a gypsy's beard. Its poison has pulled the sky out of shape and left a chain of broken girls to tout flesh for black confetti and jilted bouquets.
In wildest wood, where elderberries grow, and the wild boars roam, and the jackdaws sing, the lost prince sits and contemplates his throne. An idle sword that rests upon a stone imbues no match nor virtue to his king. In wildest wood, where elderberries grow. Before the west, where spinning violent storms do masquerade some death beneath their grin, the lost prince sits and contemplates his throne. The vanquishing of life that he should know, to Camelot, his sins before the queen, in wildest wood, where elderberries grow. And Lancelot, the valiant, left alone, now weighs such heavy price that honour brings. The lost prince sits and contemplates his throne, as blooded sunset turns each mocking crow to silhouette and spurns their blackened wings. In wildest wood, where elderberries grow, the lost prince sits and contemplates his throne.
That was In Wildest Wood by Rob Grant, and before that, VIII, a little bouzouki piece of mine named in honour of an ancestor and a lost poet. Bernadette and I once spent a delightful week in Aberystwyth in Wales, at the university there, on an academic research programme looking into ways to combat stage fright. The programme was run by a mad German professor who looked the spitting image of a Heath Robinson illustration of a character called Professor Brainstorm from the 1930s. The whole thing seemed quite wonderfully bogus, with the professor trying to figure out how to justify his research grant, but it was a lovely, if eventful, free holiday all the same. And here's an additional late piece of poetry, and it's on the subject of Friedrich Nietzsche, who was my old dad's favourite philosopher. And it's written and performed here by Louisa's partner, Henke, in Swedish.
Friedrich Nietzsche skrev en dag att allt som inte dödar honom bara gör honom starkare. Allt vi vet är att han blev tokig och började äta sin egen avföring. Länge leve cirkelkompositionen.
So that just about wraps it up for the Frightfully Decent programme, and I hope you enjoyed it every bit as much as we have. Everything you've heard here was by the artists concerned, and every other voice you've heard was a manifestation of my own fragmented personality, so no sampling's been used. It's all been homegrown stuff and thoroughly organic. So on that note, it's goodbye from us all, and we hope to be with you again soon.